And welcome back to Sports Talk with Tall and Small, our first show of the semester. We just wrapped up talking about the Super Bowl, and now we're going to go a little local to us for some Quinnipiac sports. We're going to start off with the Quinnipiac men's hockey team, which is the hottest topic on campus right now. The team right now is ranked number 2 in the nation for the third straight week, coming off a huge win against our rival Yale. At Yale, a 6-2 drubbing.
6 unanswered goals.
6 unanswered goals. Yep. I mean, this is crazy. Quinnipiac really in the national stage right now. Obviously, a lot of people don't follow college hockey, but it's still number 2 in the second best college hockey team in the country. And also with a 19-game unbeaten streak. Luke, you want to talk about that? Maybe do some research.
I mean, the longest unbeaten streak in college hockey is 43 by, I can't pronounce it, but Bemidji State University in Minnesota.
How long ago was
Bemidji.
that?
It was
Bemidji.
Bemidji. That was in 1985, and I think it went through. Hold on, let me bring it back up here. Anyways, it was 43 games, and I mean, to even have a 19-game one, the last team to have a 19-game unbeaten streak was Boston College, and I believe it was last year, and they won the national championship. So, our big things heading for here's a big question. A lot of people I think were mad that we weren't number 1 in the country, but I have to say, with a tie at Brown, and yes, putting up 6 goals against Yale, no matter who the goalie is, even though they use their second and third string goalies, I mean, it's pretty impressive to go down 2-0 like that, have no momentum whatsoever.
Fast. Yeah, 2-0
have
fast.
to call their first timeout, I think, before the media timeout, actually. I think it was like 16 minutes left in the first period, and I mean, I thought Yale was going to beat us like 3-1, 4-2. I saw it coming in as that, but you know what? I mean, to score 6 unanswered goals, I can see the argument for us trying to be number 1, especially that we lost votes, and we haven't lost a game in 19 straight. So I think this weekend is big for us. I think if Minnesota can tie or lose one, they didn't play last weekend, so they didn't really have a shot to tie, lose, win. But if we can go into Cornell Friday night, beat them, and then beat Colgate at Colgate Saturday night, I think we have a great shot to even jump them. I don't know, or receive more than the 22 votes we did, jump up a little closer. So Friday night's big, especially because Cornell started out as 4th in the country. So
this is absolutely a joke that we are not number 1. It is a joke. The USCHO poll means absolutely nothing. I don't care about anything that anyone says. It means nothing. But it is a joke that no one's giving Quinnipiac respect for hockey. This team is by heads and shoulders right now playing better than any other team. Yes, they tie a couple games, but to not lose a game in a game like hockey, and hockey is one of those, it's like baseball. Any team can beat any team on any given night. They really can. It's not like basketball where, if we played Kentucky, we'd have a shot. If we played Kentucky 100 times, we'd lose 100 times. And in hockey, that's not how it goes. And baseball, that's not how it goes. And people, if a college baseball team puts up 19 straight games where they're not losing, people are going, this team's the best team in the country. And it should be no different for hockey. It's embarrassing to the USCHO. I think everyone is there's a lot of people that are up in arms about it. But at the end of the day, Bobcat fans, it doesn't matter whatsoever because we are killing everyone in the pairwise ranking. And the pairwise ranking, if you're not familiar with it, the pairwise ranking is a formula that is used by the selection committee. Basketball, we always talk about the selection committee, who they missed. In hockey, the selection committee does not pick the teams. The pairwise ranking spits out 16 teams, and they pick from those 16, depending on conference champions, how many spots are left, and then they start from the top and go 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, and they hand it out. So right now, nothing else matters. The pairwise ranking, we're number 1, and it's by a mile. It is by an absolute mile. They're going to have to collapse to not get a 1 seed, and they're going to have to lose a couple games to not be the number 1 overall seed when it comes to Selection Sunday and for the hockey tournament. So, yes, people are getting riled up. Yes, it shows that the media doesn't respect Quinnipiac. We'll talk about women's basketball. That's a whole nother story too. But this team is something special, and you got to look at Eric Hartzell. Eric Hartzell, now third goals against average. The 2 people ahead of him have played half the amount of games he has. Eric Hartzell is one of the best goalies in the nation, having a monster year, carrying this defense on his back. And that's really the reason that Quinnipiac's out where they are now.
Yeah.
Sorry for that little rant.
No, it's.
I mean,
fine.
I think that Brown game killed them. The tie at Brown, I think, killed them because I
have something against that.
Talking about the rankings. Again, it's we're going. Quinnipiac doesn't have that national exposure, doesn't have that history. Like Minnesota has such a tremendous hockey history. There's so much that we have to do in order for, we have to be clearly like record-wise, completely all statistically way ahead, not just ahead, but way ahead of a team like Minnesota to be ranked number 1 over them, because they have that history, they have that name recognition that we don't have. They have there's a faith like that the voters in the poll have when they trust it more by making them number 1. They don't really trust us yet. And we have to just keep going. You know what? I'm glad they're not number 1 because it keeps them hungry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Keeps them hungry. Keeps saying it. I love that. I love when teams have that idea that they don't get the respect that they believe that they deserve. I think that is one of those. That is one of the greatest motivators in sports is when you don't feel respected.
Yeah.
And I like that they keep getting it. That keep striving for more. Keep us keep wanting it. We haven't gotten there yet. We still have to work hard and get there.
Now, 2 quick things. The unbeaten streak was 43 games from November 8th, 1983 to January 1st, 1985.
That'll never be broken
for them.
By the way.
So, yeah, that's a long shot. The second thing is I definitely agree with you that we should be number 1. And, maybe this week we should have, now looking back at it, because if you go back a week ago when we beat UConn 2-1 on a Tuesday night, Minnesota lost Friday night and then won Saturday night. But, we received those 22 votes, but should we have jumped them then? Because we didn't lose that week, and Minnesota had a week off. They didn't even play. So, it's questionable.
The way I look at it is if you have the week off, it's like tying 2 games. It doesn't hurt your record, but that's how the polls should look at it. You tied 2 games. And for Quinnipiac to tie Brown, look, I'll tell you exactly why they tied Brown. Their goalie, Brown's goalie, Anthony Borelli, has the 2nd highest save percentage in the nation, okay? And then people are going to bring up, UConn. What happened against UConn? Not a good team. Their goalie has the same exact save percentage as Borelli, Matt Grogan. He has a 94.5% save percentage too. So you have 2 goalies that are having outstanding years, and that makes sense. Quinnipiac had 50 shots against Matt Grogan and UConn, and he only let 2 of them in. That's insane. And that has nothing to do with opportunities. That's just running into a hot goalie. You ran into a hot goalie at Brown, I say. And so, I just don't. It's bogus. But hey.
Yeah, but you said it. At the end of the day, pairwise is the one that counts.
We're number 1 in that.
The USCHO is nice and all, but when all is said and done, it's the pairwise rankings that's going to really make a difference. So the team's got a game coming up against Cornell this weekend. Cornell, last time they played Cornell was fourth in the country.
Yeah.
They are not even in the top 20 anymore.
They've fallen off.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. And I remember that was a huge game when we beat them.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the greatest things about the hockey team right now is, we're always talking about how there's no one ever at these games. The TD Bank, the TD Bank Sports Center is always empty.
It's jumping every week.
Every hockey game, that place is packed.
All the games are already sold out.
Yeah,
for the first time since we've been here,
rest of the season
we've never seen that place that crowded for games consistently since we've been here. And that
only one I've seen
that creates for a great environment
is the Yale game, and I can't wait for that.
Oh, that's gonna
man,
that's
gonna
be very exciting.
That's gonna be packed.
But yeah, so, and again, ever since they've started to gain this national exposure, I know me personally, I've done a little bit more research on them. And I mean, it's an exciting team to watch. I mean, there are 4 players on this team that have already been drafted: Matthew Pekka, Jordan Samuels-Thomas, Kellen or Connor Jones. I don't remember which one it was.
I think it's,
and I forgot who the 4th one was. But that's pretty exciting. You have 4 guys that have been picked in the NHL entry draft, and 4 guys who could be going to the NHL, and possibly also Eric Hartzell. So that's something we talked about a few weeks ago when Lehigh came to visit. How cool it was to see C.J. McCollum, a guy who's going to go to the NBA.
Yeah.
We get to see guys that are going to play in the NHL.
And I know we're talking about us right now, but I want to talk about Minnesota just for a second. Minnesota's playing St. Cloud State this weekend. St. Cloud State's leading the WCHA. Minnesota is not even at the top of their conference. They're 4 games. They're 5 points back. They're the 4th ranked team. How can you have a number 1 team in the country that's not even winning their conference? By the way, so that's just I'll stop talking about it because I get wound up. I get wound up a little, but I mean, it's just ridiculous in my eyes.
This is gonna be exciting because this team's gonna play in the NCAA tournament, possibly get to the Frozen Four. I mean, I know we've been talking about it for a while. We keep seeing the commercials on ESPN for the Capital One, champion scholarship thing that they give to whichever school wins the most national championships, and they keep showing all these schools.
They show
and
smaller schools.
We could be up there pretty soon.
It's just Division I. It's all the smaller sports. And absolutely, that'd be so cool. So it's just an exciting time for the school in general to get nationally recognized in a sport. We have a beautiful arena. People are becoming aware. It's just growing the brand, and I think I at least speak for myself. The part of the reason why I came to this university is because I knew that it was going to continue to grow. We're the number 1 up-and-coming school in the Northeast. So I just think it's a great testament to this school, what everyone's put into this school. Building York Hill, building the new med school. We're part of something very special, and this hockey team's just representing that. So it's definitely something to be proud of if you're a Bobcat fan. And I know that there's a lot of people around the country. I always check the fan blog on USCHO, and a lot of people are saying just they're posting on the Quinnipiac blog. Congratulations. We're happy for that a small school like you guys are doing such big things. So.
All right, well, we're going to move on from the hockey team now to the men's basketball team. They right now are 5-5 in their conference. They struggled early on in the season, so while we were away on break, they kind of went. They weren't. They haven't lived up to expectations at all. We all thought that they were going to be very good, top of the conference. Really just able. Just a much better team than what we've seen. But I think lately this team has started to look. They've started to take shape lately, a lot later than we had hoped and that we expected. But I think now they're starting to take shape. We talked about early in the year how they had to adapt to life without James Johnson, to life without a top scorer, where you had 10 guys who are all contributing equally, and I think they struggled for most of the season trying to find their roles. And I think now they finally started to find it. We've had a lot of, Ousmane Drame, 2 consecutive double-doubles.
19 points, 20 rebounds in the game.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Also, Evan Conti, a friend of Sports Talk with Tall and Small, has been playing some really good, consistent minutes for the team. He's now in the starting lineup with Garvey Young injured. Zaid Hurst has also started to score a little bit. So, again, they're really starting to take shape as that team that we expected them to be. And I think while their conference record right now is 5-5, I think this team has a good chance to really to move up and possibly win the conference this year.
I mean, I'm not ready to say that they're in a position to possibly win the conference. But you look at some teams that are ahead of them. Central Connecticut State, they beat not handedly, but that was a good game. It was a good game, but they had control of the game for most of it. Central Connecticut didn't have much of a lead at all.
They were kept in that game by Kyle Vanalis.
Yes.
Wow, what a player he is.
Yes, he is.
What a scorer.
Huge player. Wagner, they just took Wagner to town this past weekend. The final score was only 5 points, but it was a lot more than that for the entire game.
15.
Yeah, it got up high, and then towards the end, Wagner kind of crawled back into the game. But so I mean, there's a couple of teams. St. Francis, New York, just took a bad loss to St. Francis, PA, who's in the cellar. Bryant University's showing that they're vulnerable a little. LIU is a scary team though.
Yeah.
Without Julian Boyd, the reigning NEC Player of the Year, but you have one of the best passers in the nation in Jason Brickman, who can just make. He's been a Bobcat killer in his years at LIU. He can just find people.
I mean, he's up there in assists in the country, number 2, right behind Michael Carter-Williams. So they have something. They got
for real. That's a solid team. Yeah. I think right now, if I had to pick a team that was going to win, it'd be hard to pick against LIU, even though they just lost to Robert Morris at LIU. But Robert Morris, mentioned them. Velton Jones. I mean, what can you say about this dude?
Yeah,
Vince Wilfork.
He goes hard. He goes hard in the paint and outside the paint. So he's a good player. So
and I think the three of us owe someone an apology on this show.
Bryant. I'm sorry.
we said you were the worst team.
I absolutely tore apart Bryant on our NEC preview show, and I apologize deeply because I was wrong to say the least. I still don't think you're gonna win the NEC, but
but I mean, 8-2, they look pretty good.
Yeah, but
they've played close.
They've played close
Very
in a lot
close,
of games.
yeah.
They played close
even against us.
Teams. So I'm not convinced by them. Francis and Starks are good players, but I'm not convinced yet. But props to this is their first year being an NCAA Division I eligible team. They haven't been eligible the past couple years. Great
that's because they moved up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Great for them making the shift. They have some huge wins against BC. They played against Indiana first game of the year. So, good for them. But I am sorry.
Yeah.
Now I want to shift it back to Quinnipiac.
Yeah. Sorry. Take it away from them.
I think really the key to this team has been, I think, early on. They tried to make Ike Azatam what James Johnson was, that guy, that go-to guy, give him the ball every play and he can score. And their offense became so one-dimensional where every play was going inside, and then teams knew that. So teams weren't, they were playing off the guys on the outside and they were clogging up inside, and then, our big men weren't able to do anything. But now they've kind of found that outside game. Shaq Shannon has been strong lately. We talked about the Central Connecticut State game earlier. He had 6 3-pointers in that game. Really lifted the team to the win there. I mentioned Zaid Hurst earlier and Evan Conti. So they're starting to get a lot of scoring from the outside and starting to spread the floor a little bit and allowing the guys inside to work as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't say Ike. I don't just see him as a top scorer, even though he is right now. I was hoping for it to be a little more balanced, and Zaid Hurst has come up and taken that role as Garvey Young. We've seen sidelined to injury. I think a big loss for them starting in NEC play was Garvey Young not being there, and Evan Conti, has done a great job of coming in and stepping up and, hitting some key baskets and all of that, but he's just missed sorely as a defender. In my eyes, he was their best defender, on the wing. He could guard the point. He was very all over the place on defense. Yeah, it's versatile. And he also was our second leading scorer. And, I don't see him as much of a scorer, but he was. So you do lose another guy that was dropping in 10 points, 11 points per game. So, and the injury coming in with Dave Johnson, Garvey coming off of, off-season surgeries, they don't help. They affect the team as a whole, and losing James Johnson, adding on to that, it's hard, but I think we're starting to see the team shape, but they have to keep that shape consistent, because when you go back to Mount St. Mary's last week, they looked very bad. Very bad.
You out-rebounded team 50 to 26
and you lose.
Mm-hmm. That's unacceptable.
I don't think I've I mean,
I've never seen such a thing in my life.
Yeah.
So, my problem with the team, somewhat is the depth. I mean, I think that's something that they've struggled with. I think that's something they're adjusting to.
And that's something we didn't think they would struggle with that. We thought that was going to be a strength.
We thought, but I think we haven't talked about someone that deserves a lot of credit. Shaq Shannon has come out and played remarkable.
Very well.
Given huge bench minutes, huge bench points, to kind of make up for that. Dave Johnson not being 100% and Garvey Young having only played a couple minutes in the Central Connecticut State game, but otherwise missing, I think, 12 or 13 straight games.
Yeah.
So I think that, this team is poised, though, to be healthy at the end of the year when it counts.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, can they go from what they are now and adjust to adding Dave Johnson back in at 100% if he gets to it, and then eventually Garvey Young's coming back. He should be back in the next couple of weeks. But he should be 100% in the next couple of weeks, I should say. And I think if they can adjust to all that happening, this team could, pose some threats to some of the bigger name schools in the conference tournament.
I think this conference is just wide open. At this year, it's much tighter. I mean, last year was very tight as well, but everyone has beat everyone.
Yeah.
Bryant is 8-2, but they've lost a couple teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And another thing is that Jamie Jackson, I didn't even know this, missed the Hampton game. So that's another possible win for us. I know he broke his nose, but, I mean, they've just had so many little things, nagging things, I think, to keep them from playing from their full potential. And, injuries have played a big part over the past, I think, 2 seasons, you can say, for this team and why they haven't really come together and meshed together. And like you said, depth, I mean, I think at the beginning of the year we saw all these guards as a great thing, switching in fresh legs. We knew Dave wasn't 100% coming in, but, we've seen inconsistent play. And, Shaq Shannon has stepped up lately with his 3-point shot and, bringing the ball up and stuff. So hopefully this team can make some noise in the NEC tournament. Hopefully they finish, in place to get there.
Yeah, and I also think, one of their problems this year, they've just been a very poor shooting team, and I think they're getting better. They're starting to, because again, I think they're starting to gel better. I think they're starting to get a little higher from from outside the paint, starting to get some shooting in there. But I mean, shooting 42% on the season, 30% from beyond the arc. Now we knew they weren't a great 3-point shooting team, but that 30% still is bad. And then the worst thing, it's the free throw shooting is still. They're averaging 67% from the line this year. The free throw shooting has just still been abysmal.
And the number's slowly creeping up. I think it's been at 64%. So they're making some improvement. Ike Azatim's been hitting his free throws as of late, which is huge, because he's a guy that takes the ball to the rim, and he's going to get fouled a lot. He's a big guy. So just adding those points. But the problem was against Mount St. Mary's, they went 15 for 30 on free throws. And that is why you lose when you out-rebound a team by 24. So, I mean, you make 5 of those and they win the game.
Yeah.
It just
5 more.
So many. But the great thing about this mess, you could call it a mess of a season at this point, just because of what we expected.
Right.
They haven't played a lot of games where they've gotten blown out of the gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to read off. They lost by 6. They lost by 16 to George Mason the night after coming off a huge emotional roller coaster. And, I'm not going to go through all of them, but that's by far the biggest blowout. And then all the rest are single-digit losses in the NEC.
But I also think that speaks to another one of the team's biggest issues is they haven't been able to close out games this year. They've really struggled with that. Again, we were just talking about the Wagner game. I mean, they were killing them the whole game, and they only won by 5.
And that's what you're missing in James Johnson.
Right.
You don't have someone to turn. There's not a guy on this team that's the go-to guy. Big men aren't really go-to guys when it comes to late game situations.
Right.
And Zaid puts up a lot of points some games, and then he's not out. he doesn't put up not a lot of production in other games. So I think that's, they don't have someone to carry them through the storm.
Right.
And there's going to be a storm that comes every game.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to play 40 minutes of stellar ball. And, I think last year when you weren't playing well, you could look at James Johnson and say, help bring us out of this slump.
Right.
And I don't think they have someone to do that this year. And so, we'll see how that hampers them come NEC tournament time.
I think another stat that I've picked up is the assist. Even though last year, I'm looking at it now, they averaged 12 assists per game. I mean, to me, it just shows you, like you said, with the shooting percentage, I mean, half the assists are probably missed off of that. But, the sharing the ball, I thought, with the James Johnson out, why is
Dave Johnson's
still,
numbers are low in assists.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a lot higher, with our guards. Not even Dave. I mean, just, big men passing it back out. And we've seen that lately with Shaq hitting the threes and stuff. But I feel like the offense has not really gotten into the flow they've truly wanted it to. And I know with Garvey out, who you thought would be starting at the beginning of the year for the whole season, I assume that makes it, kind of a problem. But still, I mean, without James Johnson there with the 17 points per game, and, we thought there would be a lot more even with the scoring. You would think there would be a lot more assists with sharing the ball. And I think that takes a huge hit, too, in some of the games, especially when you're finishing. You don't have a go-to guy, so you need to build all your guys up, I feel like. And you made a very good point with the Azotam thing, one-dimensional. If you look at it, he has 244 shot attempts. And the closest, I think, was 187. To the 244, so I mean it's close, but I'm sure
not
at
as
the
big as not as big as the discrepancy between Dwight Howard and Kobe Bryant shots.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
We'll get to that later. All right, well now we're gonna move away from the men's basketball team to the topic that I could see already on his face. He's getting ready. This is what he's been waiting for. The women's basketball team has been very quiet this year. Not many people pay attention to women's basketball, but very quiet. They've been the second best team on campus this year to the men's hockey team. I'll let you take it away, Artie.
And you said it, not many people have been paying attention. Well, if you're not paying attention, you should probably start because this team's going to the tournament. This team is built so well. Whenever I talk to someone about the team, all I hear and all I can say is how great of a job Trish Fabry's done with this team. Coach Trish Fabry. She just, I don't even know how to put it into words, but she's doing a great job with these girls. These girls are hungry. We've heard
they're ready to eat.
We've heard James Ford before the season say how hungry they were. The men's basketball team was. The women's basketball team, they want to be undefeated in NEC regular season play. They want to win the NEC tournament, and they want to win the NCAA tournament. They're not messing around. I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to win the NCAA tournament, but they can make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
they can make some noise, and I wish more people went to the games because it's a fun team to watch. They have some great pieces. They've been missing one of their best players in Sam Guastella. She'll be back towards the end of regular season play. This team is, I think, and we've said it that this team at the beginning of the year we heard people tossing around the idea that they could go undefeated throughout the entire season. 2 losses, but this team I don't see losing anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean they have 3 players averaging in double digits this year. Felicia Barron, Brittany McQuain, and Jasmine Martin, all averaging in double digits. And again, you said it, they just it's unfortunate that not a lot of people pay attention to them because they're really playing fantastic basketball this year. And again, they get so very unnoticed because people don't pay attention to women's basketball.
Yeah. They're 19-2 right now, I believe, right, Artie? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't see them losing another game up to the tournament. I'm not going to say for the rest of the year because that would mean they would win the national championship. But Don't be surprised. I think, they are very hungry, like you said, and they're serious. We just saw a pack on Sports Spas. You may have not been there, but me and Jordan, and they were serious. They're not going out on weekends. They're staying in. They're doing everything that a serious team, they really want it.
They do.
They want to make a lot of noise, and I think they will win every game. I think they can make it to the second round, maybe, an upset into the Sweet 16, but in women's basketball, you usually see, one team dominating with the UConns, the Baylors, and we have been very dominating in our own conference, and, the 2 losses, Georgia Tech and Hartford, I just see them going. I think they have a shot maybe at making the Sweet 16, but if not, I think they win a game in the tournament, and that's great.
And even
win an NCAA tournament game.
Still to get in there and put the NCAA banner up in the gym.
Yep.
Never happened before for Quinnipiac basketball, men's or women's. So it's an exciting time. And I just want to mention one more thing. In the mid-major poll, the College Insider poll, we talked a little bit about the UCHO poll. And we're speaking of getting screwed over. This girls' team is getting screwed over in the poll. They were number 10 2 weeks ago. They win both their games. They move down to 13. Then they win both their games this week and only move up to 12. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, Princeton, number 4 at 12-5.
Again, I think the same thing with the hockey team.
Absolutely.
Because we're not known, we're not. Quinnipiac's not getting
absolutely
a lot of respect. But you know what? It keeps them hungry.
Yes,
like I said with the men's hockey team, keeps them hungry.
We talked
keeps
about
them moving.
This girls' team is very, very focused. And they want to make history, and they absolutely will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I just want to quickly mention Felicia Barron, really leader of this team, and she's a great player, averaging over 15 points a game. And I think last year she was where did she rank in steals last year? I think it was top 5.
She was. She's been in.
And I think she's there again.
She's in the top.
Averaging 3.4 steals a game. That's insane.
Some guards.
That's NBA 2K numbers.
The turnover margin on this team is just they get so many more possessions than the other team that there's really no way for a team. I know that you're not playing against the best competition in the country, but the turnover margin's still there when you play against bigger teams, and so. More possessions means more opportunities for points, which means less opportunities for the other team, less opportunities for the other team to score. So they understand that a championship run starts on defense, and the great defense turns into offense, and they're doing a great job of executing that, and that is why they're running away with the NEC Women's Basketball Conference.
All right. That's going to do it for our talk of Quinnipiac sports. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to move back to professional sports and talk a little bit about the NBA, and we'll mention Dwight Howard and the Los Angeles Lakers. I know Artie, also another topic that Mr. Arthur Lane enjoys immensely, so stay tuned for that.